dear students, our 8th graders. We're here, me and teacher Fida, saying a big hi to you. We miss you so much and we hope to see you soon in the school when we come back after this long holiday, sudden holiday actually. I hope you all doing very well and I hope that you will study what we will give you today. You have previously took part 1 of the story 6 Rows of Flowers. Today we'll continue with part 2 of the same story. We'll let you hear from the CD the whole part and then we'll give you a short summary of it and do the questions with you. Please listen carefully and try to follow up.
6 Rows of Flowers, Part 2.
One day, Tatsuo came by with a tennis ball. He wanted us to play catch with him. It was the busiest time of the year in the nursery. We were so busy that we even worked on Sundays. "Nephew Tatsuo," said Uncle Hiroshi, "don't you know we all have responsibilities? Uncle Hiroshi has a lot of work to do today. Now is the busiest time of the year. You also have a lot of work to do. You should be busy now. Do you know whether your pom-poms are wet or dry?" "No, Uncle Hiroshi," he said. "I don't remember." "Then take care of it right away," Uncle Hiroshi said. Nephew Tatsuo ran over to the 6 rows of flowers. He came running back. "Uncle Hiroshi, they're still wet," he said. "All right," Uncle Hiroshi said. "But did you see those holes in the ground with little mounds of earth near them?" "Yes, they're gopher holes," little Tatsuo said. "Right," Uncle Hiroshi said. "Did you catch the gopher?" "No," said Tatsuo. "Then take care of it. Take care of it right away," Uncle Hiroshi said. Nephew Tatsuo ran off to take care of it. One day late in October, Uncle Hiroshi's pom-poms started to bloom. Uncle Hiroshi cut the flowers and put them into bunches to take to the market. By this time, Tatsuo was eager to see his pom-poms bloom. But by now, Nephew Tatsuo's 6 rows of flowers looked like a piece of earth covered with tall weeds. Not many pom-poms grew higher than the weeds. A few of the plants in the 6 rows of flowers survived, but most of the plants had died before the cool weather arrived. Some died because the earth was too dry. Some were killed by the gopher, and some were crushed by the tall weeds that were growing everywhere. When the other pom-poms at the nursery began to bloom, everyone became worried. "We must do something about Tatsuo's 6 rows of flowers," Tatsuo's father said. "His 6 rows of flowers are worthless, and the bugs on them are coming over to our flowers. Let's cut down his rows and burn them." "No," said Uncle Hiroshi, "we cannot do that. That is out of the question. That would hurt little Tatsuo very much. Let his plants stay." So little Tatsuo's 6 rows of flowers stayed. The weeds, the plants, and the bugs all stayed. A little later, a few of the plants began to have flowers. Nephew Tatsuo ran around looking for Uncle Hiroshi. Tatsuo called out, "The flowers are here." He wanted to know when he could cut them. "Today," Uncle Hiroshi said. "Cut them today, and I will sell them at the market tomorrow." Little Tatsuo had just enough flowers to make one bunch. The next day at the flower market, Uncle Hiroshi sold the bunch of flowers. When Uncle Hiroshi came home, Nephew Tatsuo ran to the car. "Did you sell the bunch of flowers, Uncle Hiroshi?" Nephew Tatsuo asked. "Sure, they were easy to sell. They were healthy carefully grown, very good flowers. Nephew Tatsuo ran around excitedly. First, he went to his father. "Papa," he said, "someone bought my pompons." Then he ran over to me and said, "My flowers were sold. Uncle Hiroshi sold my pompons." At noon, after lunch was over, Uncle Hiroshi gave nephew Tatsuo the money he got for selling Tatsuo's flowers. "What should I do with this money?" Tatsuo asked us all, his eyes shining. Tatsuo's father said, "Put it in your toy bag." "No," said Uncle Hiroshi. "Let him do whatever he wants with the money. Let him spend it and enjoy his money." "Do you want to spend your money?" I asked Tatsuo. "Yes," he said. "Then do anything you want with it," said Uncle Hiroshi. "Buy anything you want. Go and have a good time. It is your money." The next Sunday, we did not see nephew Tatsuo all day. When Tatsuo came back late in the afternoon, Uncle Hiroshi said, "What did you do today?" Tatsuo said, "I went to a movie. Then I bought an ice cream cone. On my way home, I watched a baseball game at the school. I bought popcorn there. I have 5 cents left." Uncle Hiroshi said, "You saved something. That is good." Uncle Hiroshi, Tatsuo's father, and I sat in the shade. It was still hot, although it was late in the day. We sat and watched Tatsuo riding around and around in the yard on his little red bicycle. Tatsuo's father said, "Next year, he will forget about what he did this year. He will be wild again next year." "Next year is not here yet," said Uncle Hiroshi. "Do you think he will want to grow pompons again?" Tatsuo's father asked. "He enjoys praise," replied Uncle Hiroshi, "and he takes pride in good work well done. We will see." "He is probably the worst gardener in the country," I said. "He is probably the worst gardener in the world." "Probably," said Uncle Hiroshi. That night, the whole family sat at the table and ate. We talked about what kind of year it was. We talked about the flower business and the flower crop. We talked about little Tatsuo's work, about what he had done, and about what he could do in the future.
Now a brief summary of part 2 of 6 rows of flowers. Tatsuo's uncles taught Tatsuo how to take care of the flowers, such as spray bugs, pull out the weeds, how to check the moisture in the soil, etc. And his uncle told him, and when he has enough flowers to make a big bunch, they will sell them for him at the flower market. A few of the plants in the 6 rows of flowers survived, but most of the plants had died before the cool weather arrived. Some died because the earth was too dry, some were killed by the gopher, and some were crushed by the tall weeds that were growing everywhere. When Tatsuo's father saw Tatsuo's pompons, he wanted to cut down the flower rows and burn them, but Tatsuo's uncle said to let Tatsuo's plants stay. Little Tatsuo had just enough flowers to make one bunch, but his uncle helped him to sow the flowers, and Tatsuo earned the money. Tatsuo's father hoped Tatsuo saved his money, but his uncle said to let him spend it and enjoy his money. Tatsuo's uncle, Toshio, and Tatsuo's father said, "Tatsuo is probably the worst gardener in the world." We're done with part 2 and the whole story, I guess. In the next lesson, we will do the questions together. Thank you. Hello dear students, we are back for the questions of the lesson or the story 6 rows of flowers. Open your books, literature books on page number 134. Put an X in the box next to the correct answer. You have the questions and the answers here done for you. You can take a screenshot of the video and do the questions alone and then check them. Then open at page 135. Understanding the story. Answer each question by writing a complete sentence. Begin each sentence with a capital letter and end each sentence with a period. You may use the line numbers in parentheses to help you. 1. Why did the family work on Sundays? Because it was the busiest time of the year. 2. Why didn't Uncle Hiroshi play catch with little Tetsuo? Because he had a lot of work to do. 3. What made holes in the ground? A gopher made the holes in the ground. 4. When did Uncle Hiroshi's pumpkins start to bloom? His pumpkins started to bloom one day late in October. Number 5. What covered Nephew Tetsuo's 6 rows of pumpkins? Tall weeds covered his 6 rows of flowers. Number 6. When did most of Tetsuo's plants die? Most of his plants died before the cool weather arrived. Number 7. What did Tetsuo's father want to do with little Tetsuo's rose? He wanted to cut and burn them. Number 8. Where did Uncle Hiroshi sell Tetsuo's flowers? He sold it at the flowers market. Number 9. What did Tetsuo's father want little Tetsuo to do with the money? He wanted him to put the money in his toy bank. Number 10. How much money did little Tetsuo save? He saved 5 cents. Move to page 136. You have to make sentences by adding the correct letter. You have to do them yourselves and then you can check the answers from the video. And after writing the letters beside each number, you have to combine the letters and the numbers to make sentences and write the full sentences on the lines. You have to start each sentence with a capital letter and end it with a period. Number 137, adding vocabulary. In the box are 8 words from the story. Complete each sentence by adding the correct word. Shade, future, mounds, worthless, gopher, gopher, praise, bloom, pride. 1. They saw holes in the ground. Near the holes were little mounds of earth. Number 2. The holes in the ground were made by an animal. The animal was a gopher. Number 3. One day Uncle Hiroshi's plants began to have flowers. The plants were beginning to bloom. Number 4. Little Tetsuo's plants were not worth anything. They were worthless. Number 5. It was very hot in the sun, therefore they sat in the shade. Number 6. Uncle Hiroshi told Tetsuo that his flowers were very good. Little Tetsuo enjoyed the praise. Number 7. Little Tetsuo liked his plants very much. He took pride in them. Number 8. The family talked about what little Tetsuo had already done. Then they talked about what he could do in the future. Now page number 138. Using verbs correctly. Fill in each blank using the past tense in the irregular verb in parentheses. Now you have to use the words or the verbs in brackets in the past tense. You can do them yourselves and then check from the video. It's a very easy question. Thank you very much. I hope to see you soon.